What's up, Kings fans? Welcome back to Royal Rebounds TV, a Sacramento Kings YouTube channel by fans for fans.
That's right. This is the Royal Rebounds Podcast with Calvin and Barry. Thanks for watching again. On today's show, we're going to talk about this game, I guess, a little bit. I don't know if there's much to talk about.
What game?
And then we're going to dive, more into where do the Kings go from here? Another loss. But time for your nightcap.
We're here, we're drinking beers, and we're talking about your Sacramento Kings. If you're a Kings fan, make sure you hit that like button. And if you enjoy content like this, consider subscribing to the channel. This is your Kings Nightcap. I'm drinking a Tecate tonight. Cal, what are you sipping on?
I'm drinking Big Swell IPA, one of my favorites from Maui Brewing Company.
Okay. Awesome. So, Kings lose 124-105 to Memphis Grizzlies. A ton of guys out this game. I'm talking about De'Aaron Fox, Davion Mitchell. I can't even name them all. Marvin Bagley, Terrence Davis, Alex Len,
Rashawn Holmes.
Yeah.
The list goes on and on and on.
I guess it's probably even easier just to
Thank you,
talk
Michael.
about some of these
Appreciate
guys that are playing. Jay Robinson, whoever the hell this guy is, the Kings just signed him from the G League. Justin Robinson, using the hardship extension, was signed to a 10-day contract for the Sacramento Kings. 7 minutes for him tonight. Mo Harkless was out there. We saw Woodard. We saw Jones. We saw Keita. We saw Ramsey. It was Buddy Hield's birthday. He only took 10 shots tonight. One of his most efficient nights of the season. But, Calvin, you want to give us your first thoughts on the game?
Sacramento Kings make history tonight. First time a Portuguese-born player sets foot on an NBA court wearing a Sacramento Kings jersey. So congratulations to Neemias Queta. It was fun to see him get in there. There's been a lot of hype surrounding this guy defensively. He was definitely nervous. You could see that, I think, in his body language. But he did get in there and alter some shots right away. So, as advertised there, I think the guy's got a long way to go. But it was fun to see him out there. I tweeted, at the end of the first quarter or midway through the second quarter, we might see Hallie's first career triple-double tonight, so I was kind of hoping we'd be able to talk about that, but he fell just a little short, 4 rebounds shy. He still had a good game overall. But, this was just a story of the Kings being severely underhanded and overwhelmed by a really, really good Memphis team. And they came out, I give them a lot of credit. They played with a ton of energy. That first quarter was some of the best team defense that I've seen from the Kings all year long. And they just kind of threw it all away in the second quarter, literally threw the ball away too many times, squandered that 15-point lead they had built. And from there, the Memphis Grizzlies just kept coming at them in the second half. And, when you're down this many key players and just that many bodies in general, it's only a matter of time before a team like Memphis just sucks the life out of you, basically.
Yeah, the Kings just ran out of gas in this game in the second half. With this many guys missing, there's not that many takeaways you can take from this game because, hopefully this is not going to be a problem into the future, maybe the next 1 or 2 games. But, also you look around the league, all the teams are dealing with this. The Kings faced the Charlotte Hornets team that was short 7 players earlier this season, and they got whooped by that team. So, unfortunately, the Kings were not able to do, anything against this Grizzlies team in the second half. And especially in that third quarter, that was a very, very rough quarter for us Kings fans. Yep. But talking about Tyrese Haliburton, I was really excited. He was questionable for the game. I think he had some lower back soreness. I thought Davion was going to end up starting this game. Then Davion goes into health and safety protocols. Tyrese Haliburton ends up making the start tonight at the point guard. And I was really excited to see him handle the rock and handle the point guard duties. I would have loved to see De'Aaron Fox out there. But, everyone talks about how Tyrese is more of a traditional point guard, a pass-first guy. He had a great, great game tonight. But
he did. The one thing I'll say about Tyrese, though, is I still thought he could have been more aggressive offensively. Yeah, he had 21 points.
21, yep.
But both to start the first quarter and the third quarter, the Kings' offense was pretty pitiful, actually. Just what they were running out there. Chimezie Metu, I give him a lot of credit because he played really hard tonight. Mm-hmm. He was battling with Steven Adams inside, had a double-double. But he is, even on the starting lineup that they rolled out there tonight, he's not the first scoring option. And to start the first and the third quarter, he took like the first 4 or 5 shots in each of those quarters for them.
He always takes a lot of shots.
He does. He does. So I was really disappointed. I realized that the Grizzlies are a good defensive team. They had a good game plan. We're not going to let Buddy Hield get going. Harrison Barnes, though, was looking pretty good early on, and I felt like Haliburton and Barnes, they should have been running more offense through them to start both the first and the third quarters.
Yeah, I agree. I want to give a couple shout-outs. Tanvir, shout-out. I see you. Makami, you're here. You are a regular. Fred, happy to see you. Michael wants Calvin to take a shot. Once we get to 30 likes, it'll happen. Sass is here in the chat. Tay, awesome. Thank you guys for joining us. I know it's hard after a loss, especially one like this, to talk or hear about your team losing more and more. But Calvin, you want to dive here into the box score?
Yep. So it actually looks pretty good from the starters' standpoint. Tyrese Haliburton, 21 points, 10 assists, 6 rebounds. Did have 3 turnovers, also a block. Harrison Barnes, 20 points, 5 of 16 shooting. Not so great. Metu, 18 points and 11 rebounds, but 5 of 15 from the floor, 2 of 9 from 3. Buddy Hield, 15 points as well. And then off the bench, you know, the bench has been such a strength for the Kings all year long, but they had no bench tonight because they were either out or in the starting lineup.
Yeah.
They're regular bench players. So it was nice to see Keta get in there, got himself a block. But man, they really struggled to find any help from anybody else out there.
Yeah, we saw Mo Harkless coming off the bench tonight. 21 minutes for him, 4 rebounds. You know, I'm glad he's not starting anymore, but you need some bench production.
Yeah.
And it's just a very interesting situation the Kings were put in. So,
yeah, I mean,
as Tanver says, I was not expecting a win.
They played 2 guys here, Robinson 7 minutes and Keta 8 minutes tonight. I realize those aren't a lot of minutes, but those are 2 guys that haven't even set foot on an NBA court this year yet.
Yep.
So very, very tall order for the Kings this evening.
Desmond Bain, great game for him, 24 points.
Man, I like him a lot.
23 from Dylan Brooks, 19 from Melton off the bench for them, and 21 big points for Jaren Jackson. I think one of the main differences in this game, other than 3-point field goal percentage, the Grizzlies shot 54% from 3-point range, which is crazy. They shot 46% from the field, but I think it was points in the paint. The teams were pretty even, close to halftime at points in the paint. Memphis had a few more, and then they end the game with 60 points in the paint to 36 for Sacramento.
Which is actually better than the first time these 2 teams played, if you can believe that.
Yeah, and these teams play again the day after Christmas in Sacramento again. The Memphis Grizzlies continue to haunt the Kings, and they continue to play extremely well without their star point guard. He's still out. This is his 11th game that he's missed, and they are 10-1 in those 11 games, which is truly incredible. They led by 26 points in this game. The Kings were up 15 points early, but that did not last long at all.
No, it did not. I mean, you can see why the Memphis Grizzlies have had a lot of success recently. They're an incredibly balanced team. Yeah, John Morant is a stud, no doubt about it, but they've got a lot of really, really good players, and they have a really good system put together.
Yep.
They play great team defense. They kill it in the paint. They kill it on the boards. They're just a really difficult team to deal with.
Yeah, they kind of remind me of the Jazz a few years ago. It's 3-point shooting and points in the paint.
Yeah.
They just dominate inside.
Second in the league in points in the paint.
Yes.
Scored.
And Sacramento's pretty high up on that list
Number
too.
3.
They're right after them.
Number 3.
But that's headlined by De'Aaron Fox, who's averaging like 10 points a game in the paint. Obviously, he wasn't there tonight. Who surprised you the most tonight on this Kings roster? Because we got to see some guys getting minutes that don't normally get minutes, and then we saw guys that do normally get minutes, but they were in a different role or position than they normally play.
I don't know if I was surprised by anybody. I'm not sure I could really say that. I mean, I expected Tyrese to have a big game because they absolutely needed that. I expected Harrison Barnes to score today, and he did, even though a lot of his points came in the first half. But I wouldn't really say that I was surprised necessarily by anyone. The person that jumped out to me the most on the court wasn't wearing a Kings jersey. It was Desmond Bane. That guy, it's only his second year. You could argue that he's putting together a most improved player candidate or year in just his second season. He was an all-rookie performer last year. Incredibly good shooter, very athletic, really smart player too. They got a lot of those guys on the Grizzlies. They're great cutters. And they have a really good feel playing off of each other. It's great when you have a good passing big man like Steven Adams, but they just constantly in the third quarter put the Kings in no man's land with that high post. They call it the horns look a lot. They left the paint completely wide open, and they had, Bane or somebody else, sometimes it was Jaren Jackson Jr., just run a nice curl cut right around the big guy, and it was a wide open layup every time.
Yeah, unfortunate there. Let's talk a little bit about coaching. We got to see Doug Christie, head coach for his second game in a row. He doesn't have the highest win percentage in Sacramento team history anymore at 100%. He's now tied with Alvin Gentry with a 50% record of winning. What'd you dislike about him? I heard him yelling a lot from the sidelines, and I loved it.
Yeah. Well, the reason you heard him so much was because there was nobody at this game. That's all I will say about that. But I agree. I mean, Doug Christie, we've said a lot of really good things about him, in the past few days since he's stepped into this interim head coach role. So there's nothing. I don't think there was much else he really could have done tonight. I wouldn't say I disliked anything from him. Their backs were up against the wall here, man. Yeah. But he has the right demeanor. He's the right type of person. I think the right type of player to be coaching in this situation. I feel like this is a great learning experience for both him and the team. And, he's going to have some good words of wisdom for them here in the locker room, even though there's just not a whole bunch else that they could really do in this situation.
Yeah. Sir Peter Wesley says, and the Kings need a true point guard. He said, I still think Fox can be, but he needs to manage his runnings and play more for the team. Well, we saw Tyrese play point guard tonight. I would consider him a true point guard. Wesley, how do you feel about that? Do you like Tyrese? Do you like him running the point? Do you think he's the guy of the future, or what else does Fox need to do to be a true point guard in your mind? Would be my question. You want to elaborate on that at all?
Yeah. I mean, that's just not the type of player that De'Aaron Fox is. I think I have to agree with him. I think that he is very capable of running a team, but he's never going to be a true point guard. He is a combo guard. He's a much better scorer than he is a true point guard, and you want guys to play to their strengths, obviously. So that's the idea of how this whole thing is going to work in a perfect world, is that you have your true point guard in Tyrese Haliburton, and then you still have De'Aaron Fox out there as well. I've questioned since the day Tyrese was drafted if that is a realistic match, or if that is actually going to work, those two together. I think it can. Tyrese is getting better. But yeah, I don't think that De'Aaron Fox is ever going to be a true point guard. I think that he won't be as good of a player if he tries to be that.
Yeah, I agree. I really liked what I saw from Tyrese tonight, and that's no surprise. I'm a big Tyrese fan, so I thought he was efficient. 3 threes tonight, 10 assists. He only had 3 turnovers. You mentioned turnovers were a big deal in this game. I think the Kings had 18 turnovers for the entire game. Was there anything you thought that you saw, like maybe they could have done to reduce some of these turnovers, or is it just stupid plays, bad passes?
A lot of them were really, really terrible passes. And I heard Katie Christensen during the game saying that a lot of those were the result of these guys not playing together very much. And maybe there was some of that, but some of those passes were so bad, it didn't matter how many minutes a game they were playing with each other. They just were awful, awful passes. You might expect somebody to be in one spot, and they don't end up going there, but that just the second quarter was where it all unraveled for them. Mm-hmm. They were playing with house money. They were up 15. They were playing great defense, and they really hadn't turned the ball over much at that point. They were getting out and running, too. They had 16 fast break points in the first half or something like that. Yep. So, yeah, it does suck, Chris, and you're right. But they just got too sloppy. Again, it happens to them very frequently, and it's not for over the course of an entire game. It's for these 5, 6, 7 minute stretches where they play themselves out of the game. And after that, you could just tell the body language was different. Mm-hmm. They didn't have that same excitement and energy to them that they had to begin the game. And it just continued to fall apart from there. And then, I was talking to Skip from Sacktown Breakdown on social media at halftime. We were both seeing a lot of the same things out there. And I told him that the start of the third quarter is going to be huge for them.
Yep.
And, of course, we all know what happened.
I'd be interested to see his video tonight, because the last couple of videos he's posted have been hilarious, and he's just ragging so hard on this Kings team. And, they kind of deserve it at this point, but tonight I feel was an abnormality in the season, just on the fact that there's no head coach, no interim head coach, and you're missing so many players. One thing I did hear Katie mention during this game was she was just praising the Grizzlies. And, that's tough as a Kings fan hearing, your announcers praise other teams. But she had a lot of really valid points. And one of them is that the system is so strong in Memphis that even with guys like Ja Morant out or some of the other injuries that they've dealt with, they're able to just kind of plug and play guys. Over the past couple seasons, they've made some big moves. They traded for Steven Adams, stuff like that. And they're continuing to have this success because of the system. And it seems like that is what the Kings are really lacking, is they don't have a concrete system in place to where guys know exactly what the game plan is every game, what they're doing, and how they fit into that. Part of that could be with shuffling of head coaches and stuff like that. But do you agree with that? What kind of system do the Kings have right now? And do you have any recommendations for what they need to implement in the future?
Well, I agree with that the Kings, it's system, it's culture. We talked about it a lot in the recent weeks, how the Kings are so far away from a lot of these NBA franchises. It starts from the top down. You have to have a good ownership group. An ownership group that is going to be committed to A, putting the right people in place, B, getting out of the way of those people, trusting that they're going to be the ones who are going to make the right decisions. Mm-hmm. And then from there, everything, falls into place after that. Your GM puts together a good team. Your coach has the right system. That both of those guys agree on what that system is to run and to play. You draft well, you make the right free agent signings, all this stuff. It's a total package thing that the Kings have not put together since the early 2000s, right?
Yep. Shout out, Kristen. Good to see you in the chat. Da baby daddy. We're referring to him as Grizzly Adams from now on. But yes. I'm a big Steven Adams fan. Calvin is a Steven Adams hater.
I am not a Steven Adams hater.
He's going to say he's not, but he is a Steven Adams hater. Who do you think?
You just continue to try to to ruin me in this show here. It starts with the shot. Barry's pissed off because I am undefeated. Every time he bets me a shot, he loses. So now he's trying to get me to take one. Now he's throwing me under the bus with Steven Adams.
30 likes. We need 30 likes. Well, who are you saying is a better center? Who are we talking about?
Valanciunas.
No.
You said who? No,
it was on the Blazers.
The question was who? No, I didn't say Nurkic was better than him.
Really?
I did not.
Okay.
The question was who would you rather have, Valanciunas or Steven Adams? Because they were traded for each other.
Okay.
And I said I'd rather have Valanciunas.
Okay, so you're a Pelican, not a Grizzly.
I'm sure.
Valanciunas is a good player. I mean, they're just.
Thank you. The baby daddy agrees with me.
They're
Valanciunas all day.
They're such different players. They really are. But seems to be working out pretty well for the Memphis Grizzlies.
No, Steven Adams fits that team very well.
So well.
Just like Valanciunas, I thought fit that team very well also. But they have, they've continued to add all these guys.
Yep.
So they felt like maybe they didn't need as big of a role player or as big of a star at center, and Steven Adams does everything that they want him to do. So.
Yeah, and I think Steven Adams makes a little bit less money, too, than Valanciunas.
Probably. I don't know what their contracts are like, but
a little bit more expensive. I lost my train of thought here. We get talking about Steven Adams, Calvin, trying to get Calvin to take a shot since I've been taking all the shots recently. But, hey, guys, if we get a 30 likes, I think we can probably convince him. So you talked to Skip, halftime. You mentioned the third quarter. Seemed to fall apart in the third quarter. 19 points for the Kings in the third, allowed 33. Yep. What did you see there that, created this big deficit?
Well, a lot of the stuff I've already mentioned. I felt like just like in the first quarter, they came out and I just was not really sure what they were doing offensively. Tyrese wasn't being aggressive early on. Harrison Barnes, they weren't looking to get him the ball. They were completely blanketing Buddy Hield. They wouldn't allow him to get any shots up. So Chimezie Metu just kept chucking it from three over and over and over again. And I understand if you get the ball late in the shot clock, you got to make something happen. But I just didn't see the Kings trying to run any offense through the guys that I felt like should have been taking more shots. Metu needed to be aggressive in this game because they were down so many players. They needed other guys to step up. But when you're just continuing to throw up bricks like that over and over and over again, you got to try something else. You got to run some different plays, run some different offense. Backdoor cuts, get Buddy Hield going to the basket. They're clearly taking him away from three. So try and get him moving towards the basket or something. Pick and roll with Tyrese. I really wish he would have taken more shots earlier on in the third quarter. And then they, continued to turn the ball over. They, in the first half, when they were either staying close or even winning, they were taking very good care of the ball. They were able to get rebounds. Steven Adams started to exert his force on the offensive glass in the second half. So it was really a combination of everything just kind of falling apart. And that, when you're down that many players, key players that you rely on so much, like I mentioned before, it's only a matter of time before a team that's as good as Memphis is going to take advantage and exploit those things.
Did you see Tristan Thompson and Steven Adams rubbing heads against each other at the free throw line?
Yeah. I liked what Katie said. They looked like two goats that were ready to fight.
That's how you get coronavirus or pink eye or lice or whatever. That's hilarious. Gotham, it's really awesome to see you in the chat again. He said Hallie needs to shoot more. I think Calvin agrees with you. He needs to be a little bit more aggressive.
Yeah.
I'm so surprised.
He should have had over 30 points tonight.
Yeah. I'm so surprised Buddy Hield only took 10 shots. This seemed like Buddy Hield's moment, right? All the guys are out. It's your birthday. You're starting now. This is Chuck City, Buddy Chuck. It's time.
Yeah. James Ham was on the D-Lo and KC podcast today, and I watched a little clip of it, and they were all saying, it's going down tonight. Buddy Hield is dropping 50. He's taking 30 shots, all this stuff. And, honestly, though, give a lot of credit to the Memphis Grizzlies. They knew that coming into this game. that the Kings were going to be down a lot of their main scoring options. So, of course, Buddy Hield is a natural fit there to take more shots, and they took that away from him.
Yep. Well, Kyle, I don't really have much else to say about this game. Do you? Or are we good to move on to the next section?
I'm spent talking about this game.
Oh, man. You want to go over your keys real quick, or we already talked about those?
I mean, the only key that you really need to take away from this, and you can highlight it, put it in all caps, underline it, all that stuff, protect the rock. That's the reason that the Kings let their lead fall apart, and the whole game got away from them from there.
And don't get COVID.
Well, yeah, that too. But
all right, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to dive a little bit deeper into the Kings with Around the Crown.